All right. I believe we should be live. Hopefully, the internet can now hear me and also see Hiveswap. It seems like the answer is yes, according to the chat. I am pretty quiet. Okay, let's see what I can do about that. Is this the best Homestuck YouTuber streaming? I don't know if I qualify as that. There are some very good Homestuck YouTubers out there. But I am definitely streaming right now. Wow, yeah, there are a lot of you already. All right. Text Talks. Text Talks is the guy that always comes to my head when someone asks me about the best Homestuck YouTuber. I wouldn't be doing this if I hadn't seen his video on computer science and Homestuck. But that is a question I'm answering, so I should probably introduce the stream before I start answering questions. So, welcome, everyone. Sorry about the short notice, but I got news that I could do a live stream very last minute today, and it was quite a bit of work to get this up and running this fast. So I hope we have fun. I am Optimistic Duelist / Taz / the guy who cannot stop talking about Homestuck. It is a pathological condition for me. And today we are going to just answer some questions. A lot of you guys have been asking me questions that I have a hard time getting to. There's a lot of you and only one of me, and I am doing many videos. I might give you guys a preview of all the stuff I'm working on later. But before then, we're going to take a look at the Hiveswap Friendsim and look at a couple of trolls from here. My full name is Taz Homestuck. That is my official, canonical, legal name. And we're going to do Gallic because one of my patrons asked me to take a look at them and at him, and I did not actually look at the footnotes for Gallic, so we're going to go through his path. And we're going to look at either Stelsa or Boldir, the trolls that were introduced in today's Friendsim. I don't know which one. We're not going to do both because, I want to make sure that everyone has a reason to actually get the Friendsims and give What Pumpkin money. They're doing amazing work, and if I can highlight them, then that is all I want out of the world, pretty much. So yeah. The most interesting blood color to me is the olive bloods, because I'm an olive blood, and that's all I need. That's all anyone needs when it comes to fan trolls. No, that's a lie. Honestly, it's probably gold bloods, especially since Follicle and Cuprum because I really dig the energy transfer thing they can do. That's really interesting and new. Um, and I really want to know more about them. Uh, let's see. So, wow, 82 of you already. So, before we really dive in here, I want to say thank you so much. This is, partly just jumping on the opportunity, but mostly I wanted to do this as a way of thanking you guys because I am stunned that we have gotten to 10,000 subscribers already in just a relatively short period of time that I've been running this channel. And it's really, really exciting, and I'm just so grateful to all of you guys, and it's so rewarding and exciting to just get to engage directly with the Homestuck community. I've actually been a Homestuck fan for going on 8 years now, but I never really interacted with the fandom very much until I started doing this channel and started writing my own analysis. So this has been a really new and interesting experience for me. So just thank you guys so much for everything so far, and I'm excited to see where this goes. So without further ado, let us dive right in and take a look at volume 13. Cutting right to the chase with the cutting out of the friendship monologue. Love that. I guess an amethyst blood would be a purple blood? Oh god, is amethyst a juggalo by these rules? That's awful. Let's see. Stelsa or Boldir? What do you guys think? I think I'll just leave it up to you guys. If my patrons want to chime in on the Discord, I'll probably weigh that the most heavily, but I definitely want to listen to what all of you have to say. Oof. Seems pretty even. I will answer the question of how I came to the conclusion about my class spec later on. Let's see what we pick first, and then I will get to that. Yeah, there is a lot of calls for Stelsa. It seems like the majority seems to want to look at Stelsa, which is fine by me because I'm digging that outfit. I love Boldir too. All right. Stelsa is a blood player, as far as I can recall, and Boldir is a heart player, if I'm remembering right. Let me actually double check on that. Yeah, Boldir is Prospect Hope, and Stelsa is Durst Blood. All right. I think we are going to go with majority rule and take a look at Stelsa. Sorry, Bold Deer, maybe next time. Let's see if we can adjust the volume on this a little. I am loving this background music already. That's really all there is to say on that matter. Wow. Uh, huh. All right. So, all right. So another person is asking. So my god tier, my hero title, is Heir of Hope. It was actually Mage of Hope back when I started this channel, and it changed over time. Basically, someone's been asking a couple of times now, so I saw myself as a mage for a really long time. I understand mage as the active version of the seer, so it would be one who knows hope for their own benefit, would be the way it gets parsed, and I felt like that described my relationship to people very well. In most of my friendships and stuff, I've always been like the hopeful and optimistic one, and it's always been something that helped me out more than it's helped the people around me, I felt like. But over time, I decided that an Heir of Heart felt a lot better for me because I wanted to use my sense of optimism and my positivity to help the people around me. It's something that is really important for me to do, especially with regards to storytelling, because storytelling is so important to me. That's why I'm doing this with Homestuck. You're going to see me doing it with other stuff like Steven Universe and other stories down the line, which we'll talk about more in a little while. And I've come to view my hope and my sense of positivity as something that I've inherited from those stories and from the positive people in my life. So that's why I see myself as an heir now. But that's enough about me. I want to get to know Stelsa. So I'm going to read out the text. Geez, this is going to be a lot of text. I didn't really prepare myself mentally to read all of this. But it should be fun. I'm just going to read out the text and not do any silly voices or anything, I don't think. And I'll just react. We might talk about the blood aspect. We might talk about being a Durst streamer. And we will definitely talk about Stelsa's amazing fashion. So let's get into it for now. Okay, so it turns out stealing a car was easily one of your better impulse decisions. You've gotten accustomed enough to its weird insides by now that the squishiness doesn't much faze you anymore. That's back with, I think it was the Page of Light kid. People have been asking me what I think of the Hiveswap trolls' class-picked ways and if I have class-picked views on them left and right. And the answer is generally yes, but I don't have all of them super well defined and I'm not super confident in every call, which is why I don't talk about them all. But I literally think of the trolls in terms of the class spec that I see them as instead of their names half the time. Because there's so many trolls. I'm getting old. It's hard to keep track of all these dang troll kids with their newfangled tech and two aspects maybe, and it's also crazy, and I love Homestuck and I love being a Homestuck again. Sabid, The MSPA reader is referencing when he stole a car to go see Savid back in the last friends in one of the last Friendsims. It still feels like the warm stomach of some giant creature, but you actually find it kind of comforting. You can just let yourself get enveloped by the seat while the autopilot does its thing. Getting ferried through the streets of Alternia with your feet up on the dash sure beats endlessly pounding the pavement. Sometimes you even throw Sarava's stream on your phone if you really want to get a chill vibe going. I love Sarava. I see myself as sharing a class spec with them, so air of hope. That's how I see Sarava. Answer that one. You're surprised that you haven't been caught yet, dastardly carjacker that you are, but maybe you're just a better thief than you've always thought. A possible career change to look into if you ever get back to Earth. The downside is that it's a little difficult for you to further your goal of gathering even more friendship from the inside of a vehicle, so you'd parked the scuttle buddy and exposed yourself to the menaces of the outside world once more. You're in what looks like some sort of residential neighborhood. It isn't as nice as the Blue Blood neighborhoods you've seen, but still nice enough for most of the apartment complexes to have imposing locked front gates and security drones. But of course, you can't make a leisurely stroll on Alternia without something terrible happening. You aren't out here for very long before it starts raining. Shit, damn it, this is a PG-13 YouTube channel, so I am going to keep the curse words out of my mouth for the most part. Which seems kind of silly when I'm talking about a rated M game, but oh well. That's just how I decided to run this ship. You ditched the umbrella Torona had given you since it was as heavy as a club, and now you're super regretting it. Running for shelter is all you can do, so you make a mad dash for one of the building awnings, huddling uncomfortably beneath it. The rain doesn't let up. You'll have to move soon. The security drones are beginning to look like they're planning on taking a few shots at you for loitering. You need to make a decision, and fast. I'm not sure the MSPA reader has a hero title yet. I mean, they might. I haven't really gotten a feel for it one way or another. They strike me as partly hope, partly blood aspect, but it's just a feeling for right now. I don't really have anything certain. The lower choice? Let's go with the lower choice. There's no way you're getting into any of these without a passcode, but wait! You think you see someone coming your way. Perhaps they'll be your knight in shining armor? Oh boy. So what you're telling me is that my appointment is cancelled. You're still some distance away, but she's looking right at you. You point at yourself questioningly, thinking she might be talking to you, but then you realize she's wearing a Bluetooth headset. Jeremy used to be so on the ball. Remember the time he gave me a full-prong beautifying procedure right after that high blood ripped his arm off? But now he can't bounce back from one little thresher in the abdominal sausages. What happened? That boy is losing his touch. I don't know what a thresher is. If I were to play Spurb, I would prototype either my own persona, so I could do the Jade thing and just become a furry that way, or probably like Patamon, like a plushie of Patamon from Digimon. I don't know if any of you have watched Digimon, but I liked Digimon a lot, and Patamon was like really formative for me. Funny thing, I related to Digimon has this whole thing with Cress, and Patamon's Digidestined, like his partner, human kid, actually held the crest of Hope, and I related to that a whole bunch. So I was like a Hope player when I was like 9 years before Homestuck ruining my life. God, jeez. the appeal of being a furry is that you get to have a cute cartoon version of yourself and draw it with sunglasses, and people like it for some reason, and it's fun. It's fun. People have different reasons to join the furry community. Mostly it's just a lot of fun, pretty much. Looks like she's coming back from a jog if the running shorts are anything to go by. If she's at all bothered by the acid glancing off her skin, sending dozens of little firecracker sparks in their wake, she isn't showing it. She seems much more preoccupied by the harried conversations she's having on the phone. Most importantly, she's power walking to the entrance of this building, which must mean she lives here. This is your chance. You shuffle along under the awning, pressing yourself close to the side of the building, bug-like. You sort of wish she'd encountered you earlier when you were dodging rain like a rat action hero. Now you just look sort of cowardly and pathetic. Especially compared to her, she's striding along like absolutely nothing is going to get in the way of whatever business she's got going on, let alone a few paltry explosions. Actually, she's so focused on her call that she doesn't notice you until you're standing right next to her. Such an inconvenience, you can fully expect that I will be taking my business elsewhere from now on. Oh my, what do we have here? She transitions from hanging up the call to talking to you so quickly that it makes your head spin. Take this down. Strange little hornless creature parked in front of home, very puny and scared looking. Can only be the alien everyone has been talking about. Such an opportunity can't go to waste now, can it? I'm totally okay with this being Dragon Chat. You're confused again, looking around to see who else she might be talking to, but there's nobody else here. Maybe she's dictating notes to her phone? Look at you! We can't have you wandering around outside like this, darling, can we? She talks so, I hear she sounds like a businesswoman, I guess? There's an archetype here that she's reminding me of. And I love it. I guess it kind of reminds me of White Diamond. Yes, we are ravaging. I think I'm just going to react to what I'm reading instead of reading it out. We're going to be here all day at this rate. So we've got Stelsa Sreziat. She's an audio terrorizer. What is an audio terrorizer? Well, we're gonna walk and talk. Alright, this is interesting. So Stealth is a blood player, and this is kind of the kind of thing that I look out for a lot when I'm like class specting characters and stuff. It's singled out here that she talks without taking breaths. When you're looking at when you're looking for class spec information, seeing what a character isn't is usually as useful as what they are. So like little references like these where like the actual word breath comes up, and it's like the opposite of blood, like the complementary aspect. It's the kind of thing that like I keep an eye out because it tends to help you contextualize stuff. Another aspect I'm going to be looking out for here is mind, because Stealth is a teal, and according to the main theory going on right now, each blood color probably seems to relate to the aspect of their true sign. She might lack freedom. For example, Tizius was also a blood player, and she seemed very aware of how lacking in freedom everyone on Alternia was. She also emphasized the suffering and just like the sheer pain of living on Alternia really heavily. So Tizius doesn't directly lack freedom, but she was very aware of the ways that the system took freedom from people and was designed to keep them trapped and bound and suffering, more or less. All of which are really, really blood concepts. I actually do think of Tizius as a mage of blood, or maybe a maid. Just because I'm not sure if teals are inclined to roleplay knights or seers. So the mage part that I'm like picking up on Tizius might be seer roleplay. It's hard to tell for sure with this stuff, which is why I rarely make videos unless I'm like really, really sure about some trolls, like with Follicle and Cuprum. I've been tending to shy away from making class spec videos on the Hiveswap trolls for right now. Zizzy? Who's Zizzy? I thought whose sign was a hard aspect. Tizius? No. Oh, Zizzy is Tizius. Oh, Ardata. Yeah, me too. MSPA reader. Me too. Huh, what? Oh. Oh! Oh, Stelsa and Tizius are mate spreads. Oh, yes. I am very happy with this. Ooh, happy day. I have a new ship. Interesting that they're both bloodbound. Very interesting. Blood is at least partly the aspect of relationships and commitment. A really good symbol for blood that's gone overlooked, I think, is the rings of Prospect and Durst. They're kind of coded as symbols of monarchy. They also call to mind like engagement or marriage rings, and they are the source of the Red Miles, obviously, which is a very, very blood power in many respects. That is a lot of post-its. Oh, wow. Oh, wow, she's already getting rid of us. Oh, boy. Yeah, I am a fast reader. That's true. One of them is... I guess we're going to do hair. We're gonna do her hair. I hope this doesn't end in us getting murdered, rightfully. I actually don't usually save for these. I just fast forward back. But that's probably a good idea. Ooh, boy. I hope... Polished horns? Um... I think I have to polish the horns, guys. What happens when you polish horns? There's been so much fanfic about this. Hair? Hair. Ooh, I'm so torn. Well, majority rule seems to have come down on horns. Well, we'll come back to the hair, don't worry. That is a no-so. Is this getting confirmed to be like a romantic thing? I'm so happy if it is. Welp. That ends that. Well, that confirms all of the Dave Cat I've ever read, so that's nice. Yeah, apparently. Well, if not a taboo thing, then at least something that is reserved for particular individuals. Going by how the text described her pausing there. Uh, Hiveswap Friendsim really is the gift that keeps giving. Sensitive horns confirmed. I guess we'll do the hair now. Ah! No! I messed up. I messed up real bad. Let's just... I actually should have saved. Let's learn from the past and actually save now. Let's do this bad end. I've never played Danganronpa, but I followed Let's Plays for Danganronpa 1 and 2 way back when those were like all the rage on Tumblr. Rest in peace, MSPA reader. Rest in peace. Easy shortcuts? Oh, I had no idea that tab did that. Thank you, GT. I'm learning more about Friendsim every time I play them. Alright. Let's style her hair this time. Why is Alternian tech always so weird? Everyone needs a thorn bush rubbed against their face sometimes. It's perfectly normal and nothing to be ashamed of. Hmm. Uh, oh, she's so worried. Ah, this is... Alternia's a hellhole. Troll Jewish is apparently a thing. I'm hoping we find out some more about what it means for Stelsa as we get into this. Hmm. The roles we need to play. Yeah, she reminds me, she is very caught up in trying to not seem like a rebel. It reminds me of Branya, who was a breath player, actually, so... Hmm. Oh, she seems pretty serious about this. That's interesting. Dang it. Hang on. So, the Condis? I'm glad that... Bloodbound are probably the opposite of prone to rebellion by nature. Oh, it seems like she's giving us the deets. I see. Uh, so this is a really interesting bit of the different tensions that Alternia can bring up. Tizius and Stelsa are like in pretty similar positions. They're both teals, they're both blood players, and they're clearly very close. But even though they have all these similarities, the system still manages to keep them apart from each other just because the way that they relate and see blood is different. Because blood is the aspect of suffering and being being linked to reality. Like breath is linked to sleep and detachment. Tavros and Karkat have this like noted difference where Tavros slept the most in the session and Karkat basically didn't sleep at all. So blood is very much the aspect of staying grounded and staying connected to the circumstances of your actual life, so to speak. But it's also the aspect of society, and the being linked to blood could mean that you become very aware of how society is keeping you down and binding you and making you suffer. But it can also mean the opposite. It can mean that you embrace those restrictions depending on your class. I'm not really sure what class Stelsa is right now. But my leading guess is that teals are encouraged to roleplay as knights. So it makes a lot of sense that she would be inclined to, serve the system and be of service to it. And I can see how that would cause a lot of tension between her and Tizius. Aw, man. Tizius wanting to reach out about it to Stelsa. Because, like the biggest problem, well, one of the biggest problems with Alternia is that it just keeps people isolated. All of these teens are so lonely. And, like, even Tizius and Stelsa isn't being in an actual, like, romantic relationship isn't enough because the system arranges it so that it's very difficult and very dangerous to even talk about stuff openly. So even though Tizius wants to reach out, she's reduced to doing it in like these really subtle ways, like just leaving books out in the open where Stelsa will just happen to see it. It's rough. It's really rough. Alternia's a mean place. Aw. I'm glad he convinced them to talk about it. They convinced them to talk about it. Um, yeah, Purple Bloods are violent because they're largely ruled by the cult of the Mirthful Messiahs, which is literally a cult devoted to worshiping Lord English and carrying on his values. So, if you remember anything about how violent and mean Caliborn is, well, Purple Bloods are largely a subculture devoted to glorifying and acting like that. So that's what's up with Purple Bloods. Not all Purple Bloods necessarily, but that's what Alternia encourages them to be. So. Aw. Hugs. Relationships. Cute. Morels. A miracle. I'm so glad. Let's check out her last path, and then I'll focus on answering a couple more questions before we get to Galek, who's also a blood player. This turned out to be Blood Day between Tizius and Stelsa and Galek. Remily. Oh, she was the one pirate troll. Cerulean Blood. Ooh, we get to see her again. Oh, this is exciting. Which message? I missed a message and question. Zero, could you re-ask? Could you re-ask that? Oh. Yeah, I mean, being Morales is basically just being a supportive friend. Like, it's romantically coded in Troll Society, but, like, Troll Society, Alternian Society, is designed around being brutal and mean and ruthless. So, like, because Alternia is designed to keep everyone isolated, but, you know, you still need some amount of emotional support for a person so that they can function. It makes a lot of sense to designate a particular isolated romantic relationship for that. So it makes a lot of sense that the MSPA player just kind of sidesteps that whole thing. Yes, take me to the Cerulean girl. I love Remily, by the way. I'm sure people are gonna want to ask me about her class spec, but we'll get to that when we see her. Uh, I have seen Laurel DV's work, and I like it a lot. I haven't gotten a chance to talk to her yet, but she seems pretty cool. Hmm. So here's that blood tendency coming out with her. Uh, very, uh, very focused on things of material consequence. Very focused on responsibility and commitment. Very little time for flight of fancy things like frivolous things that are like just fun and playful, like that are more in the domain of breath. So basically every single blood player, Stelsa, Tizius, Karkat, Cankry, are all workaholics. Gallic thinks about Gallic keeps his composure very much. I don't think I we saw him discuss anything frivolous for like even a moment unless it involved trying to win over Tagora. She almost cursed. Yeah, they are only teens, so like it's pretty intense that they all just like have jobs basically. Uh, I'm quiet. How about now? Hopefully you guys can hear me all right. Okay. I just noticed that we're actually in the MSPA player's car, which is pretty broken up. Dang. No, I wanted to see Remily, Ramil, whatever her name is. The Friendsims are basically a series of friendship simulators where you get to know different trolls. That's all there is to say on the matter, honestly. Uh, so let's see. Zero asked. I don't know how to answer that question, Zero. um, I honestly just don't even know what to tell you. I'm like honestly, seriously thinking about it, and like, um, maybe a bit of both. Uh, my favorite silly weapon is Dirk's katana. Definitely, definitely Dirk's katana. Um, or I guess if I want to give a serious answer, Jake's pistols, just because I like the pistols the best. Uh, I actually did a video on a Witch of Void, so there's you can go look at that if you're curious. Other Witches of Void I can think of off the top of my head are Lapis from Steven Universe and Bayonetta from Bayonetta. And let's get right into Gallic. I accidentally. Geez, I keep starting the wrong trolls. Um, I am a competent and capable Friendsim player. There we go. All right. I'm gonna go quite a bit quicker through Gallic since I already read his stuff. Um, John is a wonderful girlfriend, and I honestly haven't given it a second. I haven't given her class back the thought, to be honest. Thank you for watching us for so long, Fujin. All right. So, Gallic. Here we go. The first footnotes. Thank you for clarifying that you're not threatening us, Gallic. Oh god, this is already paying dividends. Yeah. This is great. I do actually think of Gallic as a Mage of Blood myself, which is kind of the main reason why I'm not sure about Tizius being a Mage of Blood. Uh, Spoilers, Galax. No, I didn't mean to skip that. Footnote. Alright. I'm glad Galik is here to walk us through the footnotes of coffee. I did know I could go back, but apparently, updating the Friendsim, disabled that setting for a little while, so that was weird. I just had to turn that back on. Oh, Jesus. I forgot how cankry this could get. Amazing. So this is the main reason I think of Galik as a mage, is he is extremely invested in making sure that you know he's knowledgeable, entirely just so he can preserve his own, I guess, dignity in the face of an alien, which is really hilarious for one thing, but for another, you know, knowing blood for their own benefit. I missed one? There's so many of these. Let's go back. If he and Cankry got into an argument, the fandom would die of old age before it ended. I don't think I can go back any further, so we'll catch it next time. Oh, sweet. Okay, thank you. The mouse wheel worked. Which one did I miss? There's 3 here, but clicking on one of them. Oh. This one? Okay, now I see it. I'm not sure how any claspect or title works with schizophrenia. Probably the same way. I don't think there's necessarily a correlation there, and it would be something you would have to define for yourself anyway. How does Gallic feel about the Friendsim? About the Hemo Spectrum? I missed another one? These things are so tiny. I keep missing them. No. Oh my god. No. I swear I'm good at Friendsim. I wasn't aware you could be this bad at a game that has no gameplay. Okay, so he's gonna show us out. What did we? Which one did I miss? The yes here? Because I saw this one before. He's just right in general, and he wants you to know, which is cool. Here. Two Seers of Void would not have the same personality. Okay. I saw this one? Okay. So let's move on then. Let's see. Hero titles work on a pretty broad storytelling level. So it's kind of like if you picture Link from The Legend of Zelda, uh, you know, he's identified as the hero of time. So, like, yeah, that can play out in a lot of different ways. Like, those are like really broad symbols. It doesn't really knowing someone's class spec doesn't really tell you very much about their personality because they can be interpreted in very different ways. Gallic sprites are very on point. And he is very inclined to give orders, which is amusing. And I think kind of telling about potentially having him role-playing a page. Gallic really is too hot for his own good. So he has more important things to be doing than being a sadist. But he will sometimes be a sadist. I wonder if that includes Tagora. Elward's attraction towards violence. I don't think it's a facade. She says that she's interested in Bronya and good girls in general because she's hoping to change them on some level, which I take as possibly being indicative of the fact that she might be a witch. But you know, what's her name? The girl that likes Bronya, Lanera. Lanera's a Jade Blood, and she looks pretty nice, and she's quite willing to get mean, so maybe there's a ship to be had there. I wish. I hope someday we get animated versions of these friend sims where we get to see what MSPA player is doing with his legs. Their legs. Our Dada was a blue blood in the first friend sim. Tagora sure comes up quickly with this guy. Again, Galix, as a blood player, like Galix seems to be pretty much all about relationships. Not unlike Stelsa, and not too unlike Tizius either. No, don't let him wander away. He's so good. The goat dad is such a good boy. Remel is the nicest blue blood, cerulean blood that we've seen kill someone so far. And I'm always down with someone who's willing to take down a juggalo to save an alien. It's pretty cool. While we're at it, I think I see Remel. I have no idea how to pronounce her name. I see Remel. I'm gonna go with Remel as a maid of space, probably, is what I'm thinking. Maybe no, I don't think a sylph. I'm going to say maid of space, probably role-playing a thief. She might also just straight up be a thief of space, which would explain why she doesn't seem to struggle too much. Like, she doesn't seem outright miserable with her role in society, quite like Ardada does. So that's my leading guess with her, but I really don't know for sure. There's a couple of trolls that seem to stump me so far. Oh yeah, speaking of class roleplay, Gallic goes along with this because he guesses that broadening his horizons and like having new experiences will serve him in the future. So, you know, Paige's invite service, that's what he's doing here. He's making it work. He's making it work a lot better than most role players are at this stage in their lives, it seems like. There he is, Malik. I love this kid. In the Discord, we're thinking Rogue of Time. I didn't really have a firm guess on Malik until... never mind, actually. I retract my statement about Remel. I'd say that she's at least... Oh, wait, no. We haven't seen Malik kill anyone. So my claim about Remel holds. I just kind of assumed that we'd watched Malik kill someone, which says a lot about how I see Ceruleans in general. I like Ceruleans in general, even the nasty ones like Ardata and like arguably Vriska. Well, no, definitely Vriska, depending on where you are on her timeline and which version of her you're looking at. There's basically not a troll that I dislike, like in terms of like thinking they have worth and a certain hope to improve over time. Even Zebra, as awful as he is, he's not like that much worse than Equius was. If you go back to how he was in... Hang on, I missed a footnote. Things are usually probably exactly this hectic, I'm gonna guess. I doubt Gallic is good, but I doubt he can control Goat Dad that well. It probably means that piercings hurt about as much as, you know, as they usually do. Damn. Gallic is he seems we don't really get a sense of how he feels about the hemo spectrum. I feel like he kind of just takes it for granted. Like, he doesn't seem to be thinking about it very much, but he is very aware of the power it gives him. And he seems pretty willing to use it. So nice end to which sentence? If that was me. Hello, new folks. No, come back. Dramatic goat dad. Oh. I was just saying that it probably, horns being sensitive probably means that the horn piercings just hurt about as much as, like, regular human piercings. It wasn't that exciting a sentence, sorry. So tattoos still hurt, even with a future gun. Ah. I'm not sure how they work, but they're canon now, as of earlier this stream. Man, Gallic just really wants to be... He just really wants to be close to Tagora. It's really cute how invested in him he is. Boy's got a crush. It's also hilarious when you go back and play Tagora's... Tagora's Friendsim, and Tagora's, like, conniving how to manipulate this blue blood that we know nothing about and is like hoping the blue blood is scared of him, and he's scared of the blue blood. And now we get to know Gallic, and he literally just has a crush on the guy. It's pretty funny, kind of sad. Again, Alternia keeping everyone separate just by the nature of the different blood castes and their relative amounts of power. Tagora might make someone pay to be his mate sprit, but Gallic is an indigo blood, and so he has the money to pay. And he might be willing, so we'll... I don't know, it could work. Oh yeah, that does recontextualize Equius's broken horn. Gorgic-shaped blind spot. Yes, praise him for being vulnerable. There he is. He's happy. Tagora hates it. Romance. Since we're talking about Tagora, I see him as a thief of space, probably. And probably role-playing a knight. So there's my guess for that. There aren't many of the Friendsim trolls that I feel completely certain about. Follicle and Guprum were like a bit of an exception just because their dynamic is so strong and reminds me of Dave and Jade. Really, Dave Sprite and Jade so much. But for the most part, I'm more unsure than I am sure about a lot of these trolls. Now, I think we've seen all of the footnotes. No, we haven't. There's at least one path we haven't looked at. And it is the one where we feed the goat dad. Aw. Oh. I missed this last time. Gallic is writing a novel, a manuscript. That's interesting. I've always seen Karkat as inevitably headed towards becoming a romance author, so it would be interesting if Gallic was on a similar trajectory. I wouldn't be too surprised with the blood aspect. No, come back. Oh, hey! We've got... So Gallic's footnote actually gives us a direct blood reference, and it's with respect to the havoc that trolls have wrought on other species, so that seems to be an area of focus for him. It's interesting how many different ways different players of the same aspect can manifest that aspect. With Gallic, it's, you know, like it's Tizius and, to a lesser extent, Delsa are a lot more focused on, you know, the suffering wrought back home. but Gallic is a lot more distant from it, but is also keeping track of blood elsewhere in the world. I see you, Gallic, trying to figure out if MSPA players involved with Tagora. I know your game. Here's another reference to suffering. A big concept with blood. No, not the worst ambassador. No, come back. Ah, Gallic. Rip. Well, that was interesting. That was quite fun. We got some more. I got another canon reference to Gallic's aspect and his little friendsim. It's always nice when those explicit connections come up. I always love those. Now let's see. We're going to be wrapping up relatively soon, but let me take a look at the chat and see if anyone's got some other questions for me that aren't about troll biology. Guys, I mean, I think it's kind of amazing that the particulars of troll biology have drawn so much interest in the fandom, but I don't, it's not like my area, to be honest. I basically think of trolls as like fantasy gray humans. So like when it comes to what purpose horns have and whatever, I pretty much opt out. They are clearly pretty cute for romantic purposes. Do I see anyone as a Knight of Breath? Maybe Finn Mertens from Adventure Time. I've been thinking of him as either a knight or a bard of breath. My favorite part of Homestuck is Dirk Jake. People usually call me Taz, or OD. I'm good with either. I think the joke classes are funny jokes, and I don't really take them too seriously for class spec purposes. We'll see if they ever come back up. Um, uh, Steven, I see as a page of heart. There's actually a tweet, a really old tweet of a drawing that I think Amber Rogers did of the crystal gems in their class spec outfits that Hussey actually said was cool. He liked those class specs for them. I think it was Steven was a page of heart. Um, Amethyst was a rogue of void. Um, Pearl was a maid of hope, and Garnet was a seer of time. And I like all of those quite a bit for those characters. I'm actually going to here. I will show you. I'm working on a couple of different videos right now, not all of which are about Homestuck. One of them is a video series on Steven Universe, specifically comparing it to Revolutionary Girl Utena, which is a very big show for me. A lot of my channel's visual motif and the musical opening for the music in the Homestuck Explained opening is from Utena. So it's a pretty long series, drawing comparisons between them, but leaking this now, if you pay attention, you'll be able to see a lot of my class spec thoughts slip into this, just because Utena is a work influenced by Jungian symbolism and Jungian archetypes, just like Homestuck. And there's actually a lot of interesting parallels between, for example, how witches get treated in Homestuck and how witches get treated in Utena. Um, that kind of thing might deserve its own video eventually, but that's not what I'm working on just now. But you might see hints of it if you take a look here. Um, I think fan class specs are cool. I don't really think there's anything wrong with them per se. I think they're a fun experiment. Uh, let's see. What other questions? Someone asked Vriska, and I have no way to answer that question without essays upon essays. So it could be said that my entire YouTube channel is just an effort to answer this one word question that is Vriska. So we'll get to Vriska. Um, Probably the soonest we'll get to her, and how I see her is the uh, series on the romantic relationships in Homestuck, because Vriska and Terezi's relationship is definitely one of the ones I'm going to touch on in that. I don't think that the pale quadrant is unhealthy. It can be handled well. Um, Again, like the pale quadrant exists here in like regular human society. It's just like a name for a kind of relationship that we already have. It's just contextualized differently for trolls. So, I mean, just support really close supportive friendships or like maybe even um queer platonic relationships, I would say probably can already be described with diamonds here. So I don't think there's anything inherently unhealthy about it. It's just a different framework for understanding our relationships. My favorite aspect is definitely hope, and my favorite class is. That's a tough one. I think I'm gonna say probably witch, at least for right now. It seems to change over time. But I'm loving witches at the moment, probably because I'm thinking about Uten a lot. Kirby's classspect is probably Page of Heart, same as Steven from Steven Universe, actually, which is pretty funny. Vriska auto-correcting into Crisis is so perfect. What and the your phone deserves a medal for its homestuck analysis. Um, I do see Vegeta as a prince. I actually don't know how I see Goku. I think Page of Life is what I would say. I do want to talk about characters, class specs in like a separate series about characters that aren't in Homestuck. I'm still like working out how I would do that in a way that's interesting to Homestuck fans and also interesting to people who don't know much about the class spec system, which is pretty challenging, but it's like a challenge that I really want to take on. But like a lot of it is just thinking out how to design such a series. So we'll see that eventually, but I've got a lot of other stuff to work on right now. I hope my content helped you get through Hurricane Florence. I'm sorry you had to go through that. If that was able to help you out and cheer you up and stuff, then I'm really really happy to hear it. Um, I can't really think about anything I would make canon in Homestuck that isn't canon already. Uh, if the Homestuck anime that I suspect might be coming doesn't actually end up being a thing that is happening, then I'm going to say that. Like, if that isn't happening, then I want it to happen, and uh, Hussey and Viz should get on that. And if I have to yell at them on the internet to make it happen, then I guess I will. I hate the interpretation that Dirk Dick is unhealthy so much that I started a YouTube channel just to get the chance to debunk it. On a platform where like hundreds of thousands of people hopefully will listen to me. That's the it goes far beyond the 10 on that scale. I'm so glad. Kip Betelgeuse. I have no idea how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry. I love hearing that. I've been helping inspire people. That's awesome. Um, I've been so inspired by Homestuck and Earthbound and all these other stories that have made me who I am. That it's awesome to feel like I can pass that along a little. I wouldn't want Homestuck to become the basis for a religion. I think that's how do I put this? Uh, People can make religion out of anything, basically. There's already really big parallels between fandom and religion in general. But I've always been really keen on Arania's take of the sufferer's religion, where she prefers to see herself as a fan of his story, rather than like a religious worshiper. I think that's a healthier attitude. I feel like treating stories as, like fandom where they can be really inspiring and really moving, without necessarily uh, treating them as fact, is a decent balance to try to hit. Uh, I don't think that Homestuck would translate as a religion. I don't think Homestuck would translate into an anime. I think a Homestuck anime would probably pick up after Homestuck and explore stuff on Earthsea. I actually recorded a ridiculously long uh, line of speculation about the epilogue, and how the Homestuck IP might move forward, and how the epilogue might develop the last couple of plot threads that we have, and that's gonna be going up for my patrons soon. Um, so I'm not really gonna like get into all of it here. Uh, but basically, I don't think we're ever going to see Homestuck get retold. I think the story of Homestuck as it exists here, and we're going to see it in book form. But I don't really think one could adapt it. I think it is what it is. I do think you can evolve on it, which I would love to see happen. Um, I like rocks in that I like gems. My favorites are and lapis lazulis and pink diamonds, and I'm just turned this into Steven Universe. Whoops. I do like gems in general too. Emeralds have always been pretty great. I like green. I was always big into Sonic, so there's the Chaos Emeralds. Those are always I've always been a big fan of those. Let's see. Um, so this is an interesting question. Ty Smith asks, how Alternia affects the trolls with how their society pushes people into classes. What class do you think our society pushes people towards? Um, I don't think that our basically I would say that our society pushes different people into any different class. Like I don't think society's too big. People get pushed into roles that they don't necessarily want in all sorts of different ways, just through family or through the place they were born or through stories or uh power structures they get exposed to, like through religion or uh jobs or all sorts of different stuff. So like that's a really really complicated question. And it's gonna affect everyone differently. Everyone's gonna have a different um, interaction with society, and society is going to push and pull at them in different ways. Um, which is like why it's so hard to understand society and understand each other, because we all have different experiences with it. Which is why I think Hiveswap's so interesting, because it lets you, it puts us in a position to model that experience and talk about it as a whole. My government assigned Utana kin. Um, Probably Mickey. I relate a lot to Mickey, I guess. I haven't heard of Hoshin Engi. By the way, I'm well aware that Viz doesn't uh, make anime per se. If that's a possibility, I think Viz would probably end up playing the role of middleman between Hussey and some actual anime studio, like if I'm really lucky, Madhouse or whatever. Uh, Fingers crossed. And I definitely don't think we would be seeing an adaptation of Homestuck itself. Um, I think the pieces are in place on Earth C to have a much simpler kind of story that could be delivered in anime form. But again, this is just kind of like a pie in the sky wish. But I definitely don't think it would be a retelling of Homestuck. I've already imagined a Seer of Rage. 9S from Near Automata. I would describe him as a Seer of Rage. Any predictions for Hiveswap? I suspect that all of the trolls are going to make it out okay. Probably even the really vile ones like Ardata and maybe even Triza. I think it's the story is going to end with probably time travel and probably having like a true happy ending where like you manage to connect with everyone and everyone makes it through to Earth C. That's that's what I would guess, but I could well be wrong there. Homestuck being done by Studio Trigger would be incredible. Oh, I didn't even let myself think about that. Uh, it is true that Hussey said there is no gender restriction on class. Um, what if the Earth they're on now is Earthsea? What Earth? Who's on the Earth that you're referring to? Oh, no, Joey does not live on Earthsea. Joey lives on the same Earth that John and Jade and Rose and Dave lived on. We know that because uh, Joey and Jude's dad is Jade's grandpa from Homestuck. They're the same exact guy. So they live in the same timeline a little bit before the apocalypse happens in Homestuck. I have no idea what'll happen to the MSPA reader at the end of the Friendship Simulator. That's an interesting point, Game Trap. Yeah, the characters do start out being more defined by like the actual mechanics of the world, and things get more abstract and idealistic the further you go in. That's a really cool thought that actually hadn't occurred to me. There might be another troll call. I don't know. I never have any idea what's gonna happen with What Pumpkin. They surprise me constantly in their stories and in just how things develop, and that's why I enjoy following them so much. Um, an Earthsea session might be able to prevent the apocalypse. Yeah. Uh, it's hard to know, but that would make an interesting plot line if we ever get more development on Earthsea. When we get more development on Earthsea, because it really seems like we're headed that way. Yeehaw. I think Seers and Prophets have kind of a connection to Sight, which Solix points out, in that prophets, just in general, like the archetype of the prophet is kind of known for being sightless or going blind over the course of its journey. Um, so I think seers and mages are like kind of prone to that, uh, just on like a thematic legacy level, but it's not like a hard rule. That's the closest I would say to them being directly linked to sight. No, I think Bowsette and Bowser would have the same class spec. They're the same person. Bard of Blood, by the way. Um, Also, I have no idea what would happen to the MSPA reader. But if we're really lucky, maybe he will show up in Hiveswap proper and also go to Earthsea. That would be cool. But honestly, I feel like he's like they're only quasi canonical, so I don't know if they even will get an ending. It'll be interesting to find out. Uh, they might. I don't think they'll abandon the Snapchats canon. I don't really see any reason why that would happen. Um, they definitely won't abandon the credits because I see the credits as very clearly leading up to the epilogue. We've got Terezi out on headed to find Vriska. John's depression almost definitely is going to be what leads to the masterpiece. Uh, there's not there's not much reason to think that stuff is going to get dropped. I don't think. John's gonna end everything. How so? Basically, I think John is John's always been prone to avoiding his psychological problems, partly by focusing on advancing the plot. Breath is kind of the aspect of plot itself. So I think John is going to some extent push the characters to go fight Caliborn, just because it's the next thing that needs to happen, and they seem to be aware of that to some extent. But I don't really think that's the end. Also, I don't think John gets is getting blue balled. Um, I don't. I think the fandom. I don't think there are other lords and muses in Homestuck, but I do think there are characters who play at the role. I've mentioned that Lord and Muse have the key verb command, and that's because the command is what the little arrows are at the start of each page are called. But there are actually command terminals in Homestuck from which characters can give commands to other characters. So whenever an exile is using a command terminal and commanding another character to do something, I see that as being a bit of a play at the role of a lord and a muse. Um, this is the what happens after the masterpiece is something that I go into in this the the long thing I recorded for the my patrons on the epilogue speculation. But basically, the beta kids were already said to get released from the Juju in Homestuck's canon. So they're at the end of Act 7, they get released. They go and pick up the Alpha kids, and Terezi and Vriska, I don't know, probably fight and make out, and then everyone gets to go back home to Earthsea. Um, I think there's a decent chance that the ghost will get revived too. Um, Homestuck is it's based on Earthbound, and Earthbound is uh, Earthbound and Mother 3 both have like these really dire stakes that seem really hopeless right up until literally the last second. And at the last second, uh, the whole conflict gives way to a euphorically happy ending. And that's exactly what I think is what's going to happen with Homestuck. All of the pieces seem like they're there. So it's really just a matter of how committed Homestuck is to carrying on in Earthbound's like thematic legacy, so to speak. Aradia's with the Ghost Army, so she just gets to go to Earthsea. Same with Dave Petta, same with Solix. That's what I'm thinking anyway. It's it's all guesses. We'll see soon enough. The epilogue is coming eventually. I would say yes, happy ending. I would say don't have too much anxiety about it. But I'm a hope player, and I'm just one guy in the fandom. Like, I'm not anyone official or anything. So we'll see if I'm right in the long run. Part of the reason I like rambling about all this stuff now is because if I'm wrong, I get to reconsider Homestuck and like see where I went off track. And if I'm right, then I get to tell everyone I told you so. That's the mage in me. Yes, there is an epilogue coming. Hussey has been working on it since Act 7. He mentioned it, and Viz Media is involved in producing it somehow. That's pretty much all we know. We'll know more eventually, but we've known about the epilogue for forever. Yeah, they keep their powers after they win the game. They can still fly. I don't see why the game would take their powers away, but arbitrarily keep letting them fly. Hussey is not active on social media. He hasn't been for a really long time. I could say a lot about John and Vriska as a ship and John's romantic prospects in general, but basically, I think the fandom has uh, jumped to conclusions about John's romantic fate and saying that he's like doomed romantically or whatever. I mean, you don't need to end up in a relationship to be happy. So like, I don't think that uh, John ending up single at the end is like some dire fate that he's been forced to suffer or whatever. But even in that context, I think there's a good chance John will end up in at least one romantic relationship. And I'm thinking probably more. But more on that elsewhere, because I can't get into all of that now. Uh, we don't know if they brought their lands with them. Where it seems like no. but they can probably get back and forth from the session. That's just a thing that we'll have answered eventually if it's worth answering. I don't think that the epilogue will remaster the old Homestuck art. I don't really see a reason for that. Oh, here's a good question, if only because I see people saying this all the time. The epilogue doesn't need to have a mechanism for non-god tiered characters to have immortality, because that mechanism already exists. Jane Crocker is like already on Earthsea, and she can almost definitely extend lifespans. The Condis could extend lifespans, and she was a thief of life. Um, Jane is a maid, and she can do stuff with life that the Condis couldn't, and she only just got started figuring out her powers. So, like, I don't think there's any chance that Karkat and Kanaya and Terezi are gonna die of old age or whatever. Um, even if Jane couldn't do it on her own, the characters have like their entire natural lives to figure out all of their powers and figure out how to make them work together. So like if Jane with her own life powers can't extend people's lifespans, I'm sure working together with like Dave's time powers or Jake's hope powers or whatever, they can get it done. They're gonna be fine. All right. Uh, Other questions? I think I am going to wrap this up. We went almost a full hour over how long I thought we were going to because I got caught up answering you guys. This has been fun. This has been really fun. Thank you for joining us this long uh, and joining me along this adventure. This has been really fun to do for you guys. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Um, I don't know how screwed I would be if I played Spur, but probably pretty screwed because I think I just want to like find somewhere comfy and nap the whole time. And Vriska is not Sans. Vriska is Sans' sister. That's what I'm gonna go with. Thanks so much, everybody. Hopefully, we'll get to do this again soon. And until next time, keep rising. Oh, this is still streaming. Silly me. Okay, bye, guys.